All right, hi everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Good, good. You're getting welcome back. Welcome back. How's everyone doing today? Good, good, good. All right. So first, an announcement. Immediately after this class, you have to go downstairs to the first floor. We have our Constitution Day celebration, and if you're lucky, I have a Constitution for almost everyone.
What?
Oh, these are the nice ones. These are the good ones, not the cheap ones Lexus gives out. These are the good ones. So, no, if you come there, I'll give it to you. So, if you come to the Constitution Day, also you'll learn a lot. Judge Elrod, she's a judge in the Fifth Circuit right here in Houston. She's a very bright judge, very warm person. I think you'll very much enjoy our discussion. Okay, so hope to see as many of you there, and please tell your friends. There'll be some food, there'll be stuff to eat. And I think it'll be an enjoyable affair. All right. Anyone have a fun weekend? You do anything interesting? Nothing? What was that?
We did.
What'd you do? Tell us.
We went Midtown, man. That's about it.
Houston Midtown?
Oh, yeah.
Is that a place? Where exactly is Midtown? I know. I went with my girlfriend to see Atlas Shrugged Part 3, and I don't know if any Ayn Rand fans here. Don't see the movie.
Really?
I love the book. The movie was terrible. Yes. It's really bad. So go read Atlas Shrugged. It'll take you 6 months. It's a 1,200-page book, but skip the movie. Shrug on the movie. Okay. All right, any other questions on anything else? Anything on your mind, lingering thoughts? Well, I have good news and bad news, okay? The good news is today is the last day of topics on possession. Yay, right? The bad news is what comes next is worse, okay? So the next, and for those of you who have actually read ahead and looked ahead, you know what I'm talking about. The next several weeks of the semester is probably the core of the course. And it moves from how do you acquire a piece of property to how do you transfer it. And this might seem like a very easy thing. Oh, I give it to you or I give it to you. There are a lot of rules. And today we get a preview with it with the portrait case, the painting case that was stolen. Okay? You're going to have to start to realize that the same object, right? Remember you have a bundle of sticks? The same object. I can own it today for the rest of my life, and then once I die, that guy owns it. Or I can own something so long as I'm using it as a farm. If I stop using it as a farm, it goes to someone else. The next 6 weeks of the class are all about transferring property with these various conditions. Okay? I encourage you, if you look at the readings, oh, by the way, there's no class on Wednesday. Everyone knows that, right? No class on Wednesday. So if you look at the readings from Monday, it's short. It's like under 10 pages. Do not be fooled. Do not be lured in. Those are probably the most difficult 10 pages you read all semester. Read them very slowly, very carefully. I would recommend reading it twice. The reason why is if you don't get the first one, each subsequent class builds on it one after the other. So you're going to be left behind. The topics we've done so far, if you didn't get one topic, the next one, if you don't get organ donations, maybe you'll get stealing paintings, whatever. You can build on stuff, right? But this is a very sequential, rigorous topic. So I encourage you, please take your time, read as slowly as you can, read it twice. There are some examples in there. Try and actually work through the examples and come to class on Monday ready to roll because it's going to be a challenging topic. So consider yourselves warned. I hope you have a good prospect reading it. And that's that. Okay. Questions? Okay. So today is the last topic we have in possession, right? And if you think of the topics we've covered so far, we start off by finding stuff in nature, right? And we talk about conquering stuff. We've talked about hunting stuff. We've talked about property in your own body. We've talked about property and stuff that you create, right? All these things involve taking stuff or making stuff. We haven't really gotten to giving stuff, right? Giving stuff. Next week, we'll talk about what we might call selling. In other words, giving for something for value, which is what you study in contracts, right? Today, we're talking about a gift. That is, where you give something to someone and you don't expect any payment in return. Yeah? Is everyone warm in here? It's a little stuffy? No? Okay. I apologize. I don't like taking my coat off, but I'm a little stuffy. So I will. Okay. All right. So the topic we'll talk about today is gifting. Okay. And there are two terms that I want to discuss right at the outset. And this will be a lesson which you'll keep with you for many other topics. Two words. Donor and donee. You've seen these words before. Maybe you're an organ donor, right? You've seen these words. The donation, the root of these words means to give. Okay? One of these words is the giver. I didn't see that movie either, but I heard it wasn't very good. The book was good. So one of these is the giver, and one of these is the receiver, right? Okay, how do you remember which is which? Because you're going to see these suffixes, right? Suffixes in a lot of words. Grantor, grantee. Mortgagor, mortgagee. Transferor, transferee. The same rules for all of them. So when you see this EE, right, think of me, like me, that's the receiver. Whenever this word ends with E, think of me, I'm getting it, that's the receiver. And if you figure out that one, the donor is the giver. Trust me, memorize this one. It's real easy. When you ever see the EE, think of me, and you're getting it. This semester next, you'll see maybe 8 variations of this exact same phrase. Transferor, transferee, grantor, grantee, mortgagor, mortgagee. The exact same formula. If you don't keep them in your head correctly, the cases won't make any sense. Because they won't say in the case the giver and the receiver. That'd be too damn easy. So they have to give you these. Right? Wouldn't it be easier the giver and the receiver, right? The transferor and the receiver? No, that'd be too easy. Okay? So that's the first lesson which you should know. And that one's not too difficult. All right, everyone got that? That one's not too hard. All right, let's start. Steve Jobs.
Yes, sir.
You got the Steve Jobs rock going. Look at that. The black mock turtleneck and the jeans and the white sneakers. You got the iWatch on? No.
No.
Okay. Actually, there is a passing resemblance, which sorry. But we'll do anyway. No, that's a compliment. I like Steve Jobs. He gamed the organ system to get his liver. Okay. All right, Eddie. So I'll give you an easy one. What are there's two elements that need to be present to affect a gift. What are these two elements? Good. Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. So to give a gift, right? Eddie said one of them, right? You have to have intent. What is the intent of, Catherine? What do you have the intent of doing?
Actually, transferring
yes.
Whatever that gift is, or transferring ownership to the recipient, which is the donee.
When does that intent have to kick in?
That intent.
When is a person supposed to get the gift? This is the key part.
I'm sorry, the two questions.
Okay, I intend to give you something, right? When do I have to intend to give it to you?
At the time.
Now, right? This is the trickiest part. You have to have the intent to transfer it at the present moment, right? I can't say, you know what, Catherine, I want to give you this next year. Is that gift yours today? When will it become your gift?
Probably not.
Well, if I actually give it to you, we'll come back to that. But if I say, hey, I want to give you this present in a year, do you have any claim to it now? Okay, good. So the first step is intent, right? Now, Elise, what happens? Say, hey, Elise, I want to give you, this cup right now. And I walk away with it. I'll give it to you. Is there any gift there? No. Why not? What's lacking? What's missing? Well, no, I say, at least I'm going to give you this cup right now. So what don't I do? You don't deliver it. Okay? So the second element is what we call delivery. Okay? This is what we often call an objective act, right? Why is it objective? Because there's no question that when I hand this cup to her, She has it. Okay. So I asked Eddie somewhat misleadingly, what are the two elements? There's kind of three, but there's really only two, right? There's intent, there's delivery, and what's the third element, Christian, but which doesn't really matter too much? Acceptance, right? Why is this element not so important? Acceptance?
I'm sorry, it's
Okay, let's walk through. Okay, I say, Christian, I want to give you this cup, right? I hand it to you. What do you do?
take it.
That's it, right? What happens if you don't take it? There's no gift. In other words, whenever someone claims to have a gift, they will have wanted to accept it, right? If I go to Christian, here's a cup. He's like, nah, man, screw that. And you walk away, and then Christian says, wait a minute, I never got my cup. What's the court going to say to you? Okay, and that's usually not going to happen. So virtually in every case where there's delivery, where there's a transfer, acceptance is almost, it's like presumed. Right? You need all three of these. Okay. What gets tricky, though, and we'll do this in a few minutes, is they don't have to all come in the same order. And we'll do an example like that in a few minutes. Okay. So, Eric, why is it so important to have a physical delivery? Why can't I just say, hey, Eric, take this cup, it's yours, and then you come and pick it up tomorrow? Why is it so important to have this physical delivery where this actually transfer is happening in real time?
Yes, it shows to the donee, and maybe not just the donee, but to the other witnesses that the natural transfer, natural gift is being made.
Uh-huh.
Away from fraud, maybe.
Good. Okay, so what's the potential for fraud?
If I say, oh, well, Josh gave me his money, you take it, and it wasn't an actual
Right.
delivery, then people just take everything.
So think about this in terms of the courts, right? Remember we said courts like things to be really easy. They like evidence to be easy, right? Why did they give the fox to the guy who actually caught it? Well, he actually has a fox. He can say, here's the body, right? There's no dispute that he has the body of the fox. Same thing here. When there's this physical act of giving a piece of land or giving an object, everyone can see it, and there's a record for it. And long before there were any paper records, most people in medieval times were not literate. They couldn't read. The simplest act of conveyance is transfer. It's visible. Everyone can observe it. Okay? Everyone get that? All right. So, Brian, what happens if I want to hand you over, a grand piano? Can I, throw it at you? What do I do?
You're not physically with this, so you have to come up with some other way to do it, which comes into that constructive possession.
Okay, good. You stole my next question. Good. Constructive possession. Now, you've seen this word constructive before. Brian, where have you seen this word constructive before? Maybe in Civ Pro or other classes?
Yeah, specifically, I think in courts there was constructive notice.
Constructive notice, good.
But I haven't seen it.
Okay, what's constructive notice?
It's like where you're given, you essentially have notice of it because it exists, I believe. Like you should have known it was there because it exists.
Okay. So here's the way you remember what constructive means. You'll see this word a lot. Constructive is the opposite of actual. Right? Actual notice means I told you about something. Constructive notice means is you weren't told, but you should have known. Or there's something around to tell you that maybe you should have known about this. Everyone get that? Or, for example, do you remember in a Civ Pro something called constructive service of process? Remember what that is? Yeah, right. Where you can't physically give someone service of process, but maybe if you put in a newspaper advertisement and you put a notice up at the bank and the post office, the person will be deemed to have seen it. Remember you said that last semester or this semester? I don't know when you studied it. Constructive possession is much the same. I can't physically hand you a grand piano. It's too big. We'll break our backs, right? So, what may I give you, right, to symbolize it? Maybe I'll give you some sort of a key that opens up the piano, right? No, the pianos are locked. I'll give you the key for it. Okay? This is some way. Maybe I have a huge dresser. How do I symbolize the dresser? I give you the key. Or maybe, you ever see those commercials for Lexus, right? Where a guy buys his wife a car for Christmas and she comes out with a bow and you see he hands her a little box and the keys are in the box, right? It symbolizes the gift. Okay? Now, you're going to get confused in about 30 seconds when I say, what's a symbolic gift, which comes next. And I'm going to tell you the difference is very, very subtle. Okay? Generally speaking, a symbolic delivery deals with a written instrument. Right? If instead of giving you a grand piano, I hand you over the invoice for it or the bill for it. Instead of giving you over a car, I give you some sort of written instrument describing it. Okay? There are constructive delivery and symbolic delivery. There's not much of a difference. There used to be a big difference before people were literate, where they would have, physical objects represent something. But now, just about anything you give, like I can give you a note saying, hey, here's a note saying that I'm giving you, a grand piano. Okay? Don't get stuck up with the difference between them because it's really a thin line. Okay? Now, Allison, why do you think courts may not like constructive delivery or symbolic delivery?
Because delivery, I feel like it's kind of like in the present kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and there could be some vague language like in the written instrument being like, okay, is this exactly what you're giving them? Versus like, I give you like rent a U-Haul and get the Steinway piano and bring it to somebody's house, and you're like, that is a delivery versus like
Yes.
the title of it being like, oh, here you
Exactly.
go, it could be.
And simply put, there's more opportunity for fraud, right? When you give someone a gift and you actually hand it to them, there's no question what the situation is. If you give them a written instrument, maybe you don't describe it correctly, or maybe you make a typo or something. Okay? This is all about trying to minimize and prevent the risk of fraud. So the general rule is that if you can actually deliver something by hand, this was a common law rule. Common law said if you can deliver something by hand, you can actually hand it to someone, you should. If you can't hand it to them because it's too big or it's too heavy or whatever, then you can use one of these other methods like symbolic or constructive delivery. But the presumption, right? The presumption is that you should give it if you can. Now that's a common law rule which we'll study later. The courts have kind of backed away from, right? They've like all good common law rules, they've started to ignore them. So this is not so much the modern doctrine, but common law you still have this. Yep. Cough drop. Okay. All right. Questions on this? Okay. Let's take a look at this question about the ring on page 191, please. And Ashley, when you get to the, can you please read it? It starts owns a pro ring. Question number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So just read the first few sentences.
Let me read it out loud.
Please. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
O owns a pearl ring. While visiting her daughter, O leaves the ring on the bathroom sink. After O leaves, A discovers the ring. When A telephones O to tell her of the discovery, O tells A to keep the ring as a gift. Has O made a gift to A? If so, can O change her mind the next day and require A to return the ring?
Okay, so here's what happened. I said a few minutes ago that the ordering of the elements, the 3 elements, don't really matter, and this explains why. So, O has a ring. She leaves her room on the sink. The daughter discovers the ring. Phone call is made, and the mother says, oh yeah, you can keep this ring as a gift. Okay? Now, Ashley, before you came to this class, putting aside all of your property, would you think the mother actually gave the daughter the ring here?
I mean, I think there was a...
Don't use it, donative intent, just before you came to law school, this happened, your mom left a ring.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, I would think so.
Okay, so now, after you've been in law school for, 20 minutes of studying this class, do you think it's a gift?
I don't think there was intent when she transferred it. She didn't leave it there on purpose. I mean, it's out of order, like you're saying, but she didn't transfer it on.
Okay, so watch this. This is what's counterintuitive. All of you would think before you came to law school, of course, this is a mom giving the daughter the gift, right? There's no question. So, Jack, let's walk through the elements one at a time, but let's do it out of order, right? Was there a present intent to give the ring? Let's do very carefully. Was there a present intent to give the ring? When the phone call was made, right? Daughter calls the mom. Mom says, oh yeah, sure, sweetie, you can have the ring. Was there a present intent?
I would think no.
Why not?
Well, because the person must have intended at the present time to make the gift.
At the time when the mom said, sure, sweetie, you can have it, was it a present intent? Stop fighting it. Think about it. Dora says, hey, Mom, can I have the ring? She says, sure, sweetie.
I mean,
I see your... Well, but why is the answer yes? The answer is yes, but why is the answer yes?
oh, I guess then because the daughter brought up the ring, and then the mother specifically mentioned, yes, you can have the ring, and that was her intent at that time.
Exactly. Right? The weird thing about gifts is you can do things out of order. So what happened was there a present intent to say, yes, you can have the ring. Right? There's no dispute there. All right? Okay. So Calvin, let's talk about delivery, right? Was there delivery from the mom to the daughter?
I say yes,
You're right. Why is the answer yes?
because at the time she tells her you can have the ring, that is the transfer. And she already possessed
No. Let's be careful. The words are oral. That's not the transfer. Delivery is a physical act. So when did the physical act occur?
whatever the daughter found.
Actually, even more when the mom left it. Ah, all right. So yes, the mom left it. So we can do this two ways, right? What if we say this is not a gift, right? Is that Dylan?
Yeah.
Dylan, let's assume this is not a gift, right? What would have to happen to make this a gift? Yeah, let's assume this wasn't sufficient. What would have to happen in order to make this a proper gift? Okay, so this would be stupid, right? The mother would come over, the daughter would hand the ring to the mom would hand the ring back to the daughter, right? Then there'd be no question there's a gift. So the law says this is a waste of time. We're going to presume that delivery happens before the intent. We'll just pretend it's okay. We will pretend that the intent was there at the time of the delivery. The order doesn't matter. Everyone see that? Okay, I'm going to use a really crazy Latin phrase, which you probably have never seen before, right? It's called nunc pro tunc. Anyone ever seen that before? Yeah, where'd you see it? Contract something? What does it mean?
I don't remember. Nothing for something?
No. Close, but I mean, the right track. It literally means what is now then. In other words, something. Nunca means none, so you're on the right track. Basically, we'll pretend that the intent of today applied yesterday. So even though the mom gave the intent today, we'll pretend the intent was there yesterday to make a complete transaction. Everyone see that? And again, the acceptance is automatic because the daughter took the ring. Everyone see that? Don't get tripped up. Even if the intent comes later, we pretend it happened first. Okay? Let's go back to the question. Is it Michael? Yeah. Michael. What happens, and this is the last sentence in the paragraph, what happens if the next day the mother changes her mind? Will the daughter return the ring?
I don't think so.
You revoke a gift.
I don't think so.
The answer is no. Once you make a valid gift with all the elements, it ain't yours anymore. Once you give something to someone, that's it. You don't have it. You can't orally revoke a gift. Right, Michael? What would have to happen for the mother to get the ring back?
If the daughter made a conditional
Yes.
acceptance,
Or what can the daughter do?
just revoke- or
Give it back. The mother says, sure, Mom, here, you can take it back. Right? But you can't orally revoke a gift. Everyone see that? All right. Let's go ahead to Emily. Can you read the second paragraph, which says, suppose that A does not?
Suppose that A does not telephone O to tell her the ring has been found. A week later at dinner with friends, A surprises O by producing the ring. O takes the ring, looks at it, and gives it back to A, saying, I want you to have it. It's yours. A tries on the ring, but it's too large for A's finger. O then says, let me wear it until you can get it cut down to fit you. O leaves the dinner wearing the ring. Is struck by a car and is killed.
Always. I'm sorry, in this class, people die violently. I promise you in the exam there'll be lots of very violent sudden deaths like Games of Thrones. The reason why is that property transfers on the death of people. And it's not very fun. People live to a natural age of like 80 because that's too much time to last. And so I promise you in the exam, lots of people die in very sudden sequences in horrible, gruesome ways. So if you're squeamish, just deal with it. Okay, so thank you, Emily. So there's 2 questions here, right? There was 2 transfers. Okay, so the mom gives a ring and says, "I want you to have it. It's yours," right? Emily, that gift from O to A, the mom to the daughter, is that a clean gift?
She gives it to her.
Is there intent?
Yes.
Is there delivery? Okay, so at that point, Emily, who owns the ring? The daughter owns it, right? Okay, so we go to the next sentence, Carrie, right? And it says, "Oh no, the ring's too big. Here, Mom, you can hold on to it until I can get it fixed," right? Is that a gift? Is the daughter giving it to the mom to keep forever?
No, she's not.
How long is she giving it to her for?
Until she can get it cut down so it'll fit her again.
So is that a gift?
So I don't think so because she has the intent to transfer it, but not
Good.
at that.
What do we call that? We did this in class last week. What's that word with a B? Come on. Bailment. Bailment. Remember? Bailment, when you give like your keys to valet, or you give your clothes to the laundromat, or if you give your jewelry to a jeweler to get it fixed. The daughter gave it to the mom as a belly to hold on to it. Everyone see that? Now, there's actually a note after the cases, and I encourage you to actually read the notes. They're usually pretty entertaining. But there's one involving Vladimir Putin and Bob Kraft, the New English Patriots. Did anyone see that? Anyone? So this actually happened a few years ago. I remember when this happened. So Bob Kraft is the owner of the New England Patriots, and they've won a number of Super Bowls in the last decade, none too recently. And he took off the ring and he showed it to Vladimir Putin, and Putin pretended it was Ukraine, and he seized it. So Putin says, "I can kill someone with this ring," and he puts it out. He puts it in his pocket, and he's surrounded by 3 KGB guys, and they walk away. The KGB hasn't existed in quite some time. I'm not sure why they put that in the post, but they're not called that anymore. What wasn't here is that apparently the president of the United States at the time, the State Department called Bob Kraft, and they said, "You can't ask for it back. That it would be a diplomatic disaster to ask for a gift back, because in international relations, giving a gift between nations is a very significant act." So apparently the State Department called them and said, "You can't ask for it back. Don't even try to sue him." So that wasn't in the facts, but it says, Kraft released a statement saying, "I decided to give President Putin the ring as a symbol of the respect and admiration that I have for the Russian people and his leadership." Okay, that was written by someone in Foggy Bottom of the State Department. That wasn't a real thing that Bob Kraft would ever say. He's like, "Give me back my damn ring." I'm sure he has another one created. So the question is, Amanda, who owns the ring now? Is this a gift? Think about it, kid. Lie to the question we just did.
I think initially it was not.
Okay,
However,
good.
After Kraft made the statement,
Good.
it became a gift.
Okay, so when Putin took the ring from him, was there any present intent at that time?
No.
Okay. What about after the State Department got to him and made that statement?
See?
Does that illustrate his present intent to give?
Yes.
Yes, that's exactly right. At the time that Putin took the ring, he was a common thug, right? He just seized it like it was Crimea. But later, when he expressed his intent, not enough of you were laughing at that, which is disappointing for world affairs purposes. But later, right? Later, he expressed a present intent to give it. At that point, once he said that I want Putin to have it, that's the gift. Everyone see that? Funny, like random aside, but this stuff actually does happen. All right, take a look at paragraph 3. Shelley, paragraph 3, please.
Yes.
This is actually a preview of next semester. We'll do it now because it's interesting.
Okay. Post that at dinner above O had not said the words quoted, but instead said this: "I promise to leave you this ring when I die."
Okay.
What result? For criticism of...
Okay, stop. Okay.
Okay.
So remember this very carefully. You cannot give a gift for something after you die. That is what's called a testamentary gift. Okay? So I want to explain two words. And this you'll see when we take your wills class. We'll give you a preview. There are two types of gifts: testamentary and inter vivos. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And causa mortis.
You'll do that later. Okay. Causa mortis fits somewhere between. Okay. All right. So inter vivos means, remember, like live in la vida loca, like during life. That's why I first learned that word, I think. During life, right? If I give Vladimir Putin a ring, I'm afraid of him, I would. If I give Vladimir Putin a ring, right, he would then have it during his life. Okay. If I say, hey Vlad, I want to give you this ring after I die, right? That's called a testamentary gift. But there's a big difference, right? All the gifts we were discussing today about intent and transfer and all that stuff, that's only for inter vivos gifts. Okay? You have the intent and deliverance. Deliverance or deliverance. But a testamentary gift, giving a gift after someone dies, you need to comply with something called the statute of wills, which you may have heard of. Now, you've heard of the statute of frauds. It's the same type of thing. The statute of wills provides rules for how do you give a gift after their life. Right? The statute of wills, and this is a preview, you will study this later, says you need 2 witnesses. To give an inter vivos gift, you don't need any witnesses. But for a for a testamentary gift, you need 2 witnesses. 2. You need 2 people to sign off, witness this gift, and we swear that's accurate. Okay? Shelley, why do you think the rules are so strict for the statute of wills? They need these witnesses. Why is it different than the inter vivos gifts?
Probably because someone might be dead and won't have a say of whatever happens.
Yes. Usually when you're dead, you don't have a say. If I say I'm giving you Shelley this gift, right, and then later we have some dispute, I'll come to court, you come to court, we can argue about it. If I say, Shelley, I want to give you this after I die, I'm not coming to court. I'm dead. I'm ash. I'm dust, right? So the only way to ensure there's no fraud is by having 2 independent witnesses sign off on this. We'll do this later when we do the Gruen case. What you need to know is that very often people try and get around a statute of wills. Why? Has anyone ever had a grandparent or something die and have a contested probate battle? Anyone ever deal with that? You're nodding your head. Want to talk about it?
It gets nasty. Like,
overview, high level.
what do you mean?
What happened?
Like my case?
Yes, your case.
Okay, my grandfather had been married like 7 times, and it was my